What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 34 of the Hybrid Athlete Podcast. I am your host, Nate. I am reaching out on a different video recorder because unfortunately, I've spent the last month trying to record like 3 or 4 of these episodes, and I do it directly from YouTube. And I record the video, I finish. It gives me the length of the video in seconds, minutes and seconds. It's available in to download at some point after 24 hours. But I've been having issues with actually being able to download it. And it looks like there's an error when I try to start or watch the video that I recorded. So this is the fourth attempt, and it will be the last time that I fail on getting content out. So this is episode 34, the third recording of episode 34, unfortunately. But I want to kind of, I guess, do another iteration of what I meant to speak about, what I wanted to cover as in terms of like content of kind of like my path since 2025. Kind of look back once more to 2024 and how I kind of shifted away from endurance racing, and I'm getting pretty much into bodybuilding, growing kind of in the gym as a weightlifter, and both in strength and physique, and kind of in my learning. My learning process through just kind of like subtly trying new things, changing my approach in different ways. For those of you who have watched my content before, you know that I like to speak to those who take fitness seriously. If you're a person that maybe likes to work out 2 or 3 days a week just so you can drink alcohol on the weekends and not get out of shape or not get fat, this channel is not for you. I'm not, by no means am I a professional athlete or an elite athlete, but I'm pretty advanced. I think that I take my fitness very seriously, and I've helped myself as well as several of work associates and people close to me, kind of improve their lives through fitness and make a big change in how they feel and how they approach pretty much their day to day. So that being said, I've had a couple of episodes where I kind of look back on 2024, kind of recap when I was running marathons, doing Ironman. So at this point, I'm basically, doing less cardio. I'm still doing cardio. I've incorporated HIIT into my weekly regimen, which I will speak about in this episode. I want to speak about some of the subtle lessons that I've learned from kind of the approach that I've taken. I want to get into maybe a little bit more advanced, a little bit more like, showing up is great. Going to the gym 5 days a week, 6 days a week is great. I'm glad that you have discipline, but if you're kind of like me, where you're like, you want to get an edge on, okay, how can I get more? How can I solve for like optimizing for, I work out, I lift, my strength is increasing, my body's getting better, maybe less body fat if that's your goal, maybe more overall strength if that's all you care about. Whatever spectrum you're on when it comes to lifting weights in the gym, and being natural. So I'm not, if you're on steroids, great, good for you. But this is more about those who are natural, who want to basically get an edge and kind of take something away from this episode, from this conversation, and from this channel overall. I think I got quite a bit to offer. So, like I said, this conversation is going to be geared towards like kind of the things that I've learned along the way, especially specifically the last 12 to 13 months. Because quick recap, I basically did my last marathon on May 5th of 2024. Since then, I haven't done any Ironman, any endurance races, not even half marathons, not even 5K, anything. I've lowered my cardio to basically 3 runs a week and probably 2 bike rides, but they're short. So 10 to 15 minute bike ride, 15-minute run, 2.5 miles. That's it. Some days, not every day. So basically, my cardio has gone down, my weight has gone up. I finished my marathon at about 181, maybe 182 pounds, probably 181 pounds. And right now I weigh roughly 204, 205, to be honest. I weigh a little bit heavier in the evenings, but average stable body weight right now is still going up, but I've put on 23 pounds, maybe 24 pounds of pretty good weight in the last 12, 13 months since doing my last marathon. Along the way, I have taken different strategies, taken different approaches to strength training from the perspective of volume, from the perspective of exercise sequence, from the perspective of kind of like, how how I instinctively change my day-to-day workouts. For example, if I feel good one day and I feel strong, I'm going to add some weight. I'm going to try to break through a plateau. If I feel like a particular exercise movement, I'm getting a good mind to muscle connection, I'm going to stick with that movement. I'm going to like lean into that and really get the most out of my workout, get a great pump, make sure that I am set up for kind of the best, getting the most. Again, like I said earlier, solving for optimization of effort and then how I feel too. I like solving and figuring out like, okay, how can I feel the best while doing as much as I can? That comes to sleep and hydration. For those of you who are advanced at this point, you should be kind of dialed in on how much water do I drink, when do I go to bed, how much overall like caloric intake to maintain my body weight. What does that look like? This is getting more into like, sequencing of, carb cycling, of doing maybe some more advanced strategies that are kind of like, okay, well, if I want my body weight to, my body fat percentage to decrease while maintaining strength or even gaining strength, what type of training sequence, what type of exercises should I do? My input is that HIIT cardio is really good. It can be very productive at the right time of the week. So that's what I wanted to share maybe first in this conversation is an example of how I've discovered that I think I can lean into HIIT cardio and keep my body fat percentage low while still, slowly gaining weight. Again, this isn't like a rapid increase. This isn't like, put on 10 pounds of muscle in, less than a year. When you get older and you get more advanced, that doesn't happen. It takes years to put on good muscle, especially when you're natural. But what I'm discovering through the process is that there's ways to kind of keep my body composition nice and lean while my weight goes up through carb cycling, through, like I said, rep schemes and exercises. And particularly with HIIT cardio, I like to do HIIT cardio almost on a recovery day. And that may seem a little bit controversial, but I treat HIIT cardio like I don't need to get a pump during HIIT cardio. I don't need to be fresh. I don't need to feel like I do on leg day or a big back day, larger muscle groups where you want to be well rested, you want to be hydrated, then you want to be ready to go to crush it and to do as much as you can, lift as much as you can. I treat HIIT cardio like I'm probably going to suffer through this, but I want to get the most. I move a lot of blood, right? If you're boxing is like you're working your shoulders, your arms. You're basically, if you do some heavy rounds of the heavy bag, that's a really good workout. And I'm not fighting in the ring with somebody, so I treat it as okay. Maybe after my leg day, or maybe after a big back day, or Wednesday, Thursday, after I've already worked out 3 days in a row, a little bit fatigued, I kind of lean into that and say, okay, let's just grind through this. Let's get a good HIIT cardio session in. Let's burn some fat. Let's keep our calories high. But it's kind of just like maybe HIIT cardio, I guess, is to summarize it, it's a good way to say it's going to like improve your body composition, but you need to eat enough so you don't lose weight. For example, me, for example, like I said, I'm basically on a pace of 1.5 to 2 pounds a month, basically in body weight gain since my marathon. And sometimes I kind of like flatten out on a plateau, but I try to push through and I keep my caloric intake appropriate so that my energy levels are high and it's the right quality food. But back to like the HIIT cardio boxing thing, if I do 3 sessions, I'm basically at a point to where I might do 2 to 3 sessions of HIIT cardio a week. So maybe on Monday afternoon, I do a boxing session. And then what I've been doing is like on a Wednesday, Thursday, maybe after leg day. And like I said, this is an example. After leg day, I have a HIIT cardio where it's like the assault bike and jump rope, and I do like interval training, which I feel like it's really good because, like I said, it keeps me lean, it keeps me in good cardiovascular shape, and it kind of supplements like it almost replaces my steady state cardio that I used to do while maintaining a little bit more muscle. Those of you who kind of know about type 1, type 2 muscle fiber activity and training, you want to have explosive training to like keep muscle. That's why sprinters are more muscle bound than endurance runners, obviously, because those type 2 muscle fibers are just rapid firing. It's more like quick twitch. In boxing, it's quick twitches. Boom, boom, throw the jab, learn a combo, get in your own head and just think, okay, how do I get better at this craft? Well, not really like boxing with anyone. So I don't need to be fresh when I do that. I just treat it as give 100%, get the most out of your week by like, it's not a training a particular muscle group. And then on that day after I do HIIT cardio, I suggest doing a smaller muscle group. I feel like I get a really good shoulder pump, for example. And I feel like my shoulders have really improved. If any of you guys that track my shorts or kind of, when I pose or like give an update on my body weight or how I look, I feel like my shoulders have grown significantly well, especially since quitting endurance, because I do like a HIIT cardio day and then I had arms. I had maybe a light back day or something, or kind of some auxiliary kind of like secondary exercises that I don't normally do to surprise my body a little bit, keep myself kind of on my toes and in the best shape I can. But I think that's a good way to do it, is to treat HIIT cardio like a day where it's like a combo day. It's like I'm not just going to do HIIT cardio, but I'm going to do HIIT cardio. I'm not going to do HIIT cardio and legs on the same day, but I could sure as hell do HIIT cardio, shoulders, HIIT cardio, and get some arms, some good curls in, because a lot of guys, especially guys, like they'll want to build their arms. Women don't care much about their arms; they care more about their lower body. But if you're a guy and you're trying to do HIIT cardio and then only arm day, I think that's good, because you don't need to be fully fresh to get a good arm day in my opinion. your legs can be sore, your back can be tired from, pulling heavy weight the day before. But when you get into arms, you're basically seated, you're controlling, it's an isolated movement, and you can really like push the intensity by combining HIIT cardio with arms. That's one of my favorite days, to be honest. I mean, I hit those Z-bar curls after I do some, even after I do some boxing, I'm already fatigued. I'll hit some dumbbell shoulder press. I'll hit some, whatever it is, some smaller muscle group isolated exercises. And I really feel like I get a lot out of that exercise. So food for thought. I mean, take it for what it's worth, but, I've been training like this for the last, probably I've picked up on this, particularly combining HIIT cardio with a small muscle group, the last 8 to 10 months since I finished endurance and since the mindset of doing and being an endurance athlete training and then also lifting weights is like weights come second, but when weightlifting was first and when that's the most important thing, I just kind of like have that approach of, okay, I want to optimize, like I want to be efficient. And that's some of the greatest basketball players of all time always talked about being efficient, like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, even LeBron James are like, okay, 1-2 dribbles get to your shot. There's particular NBA players that dribble around the whole damn court, and they called it the Nash dribble with Steve Nash, who actually won a couple MVPs. But controversially, maybe he could, maybe he shouldn't have. People feel that way. But what I'm trying to say is that like when you really want to be great, you want to be as efficient as you can. Like when I go into that HIIT cardio, when that HIIT workout around the rest of my week, I don't want it to damage my other workouts, or like I don't want to overdo it because I care about putting on muscle. I don't care about being, a sprinter or a really good cardiovascular athlete for me and probably for most of you. But I want to use that as like to leverage the rest of my week and my performance and my growth, because when you're in good cardiovascular shape, that supplements your ability to lift weights. If guys are too big or they don't do any cardio, they get burnt out quick. Like they'll do 1 or 2 big sets, and maybe you're not maximizing strength, but I feel like you're maximizing like hypertrophy, volume, blood flow when you combine HIIT cardio with intense weight training. And again, it's a process. Like when I first started, I was getting sore. Like I knew I was doing something good because I was getting more sore when I introduced HIIT cardio, when I introduced different variations of weightlifting. So I guess we'll move on from HIIT cardio. It's spent a little bit more time on that than I intended, but ultimately, I think that's a good piece. Something that I've learned through the process is, keep cardio in your regimen, in your schedule, but literally only 8, 10, 12 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes, I guess, but of HIIT cardio can really be productive for you, especially when you're kind of a developing lifter and you want to stay in good shape while you're eating more, like trying to get bigger. Is HIIT cardio will really preserve muscle, to be honest. I mean, as long as you do it the right way. Again, like I said, 2 to 3. I think for me the sweet spot is 2 times a week, sometimes 3. But just to give an example of a 6-day lifting schedule I have, I'll do Monday morning chest, or maybe Monday morning back. Monday morning back, Monday evening HIIT cardio, probably boxing or barbell, kind of like CrossFit style barbell, lighter barbell work, but just cranking out the reps. Do a pyramid scheme, something like that, ascending, descending pyramid, something like that. Tuesday, going to chest. Legs is on Wednesday, so then another HIIT session on Thursday. Friday would be a secondary back day, and then Saturday is more of like incline press / shoulders. Where do arms fit? So like I said, arms would fit on that Thursday where I do HIIT cardio session, or maybe even on that Monday evening after I've done a back workout. I need my triceps for the next chest day, but I'll do some dig into biceps on the Monday after my HIIT cardio. So my preference and favorite is shoulder and biceps mixed with HIIT cardio. For you, it may be different. It may be like a variation of back mixed with HIIT cardio. Like you mix some pull-ups into your HIIT cardio, that's fine too. That'll work. But my experience and my I guess my fundamental thought is I'm still able to slowly gain weight, stay on a lean bulk, right? When I'm mixing in HIIT cardio, and I feel like my body composition has changed. I'll let you be the judge of that. You can see my shorts and stuff and my posts and my status updates on that. But yeah, body weight 203, 204. I'm confident that I can get to 210 like I want, probably within the next 3 months, maybe 4 months if because I don't want to like overeat. I don't want to put on more body fat than I have now. I'm satisfied with how I look, with how my gut feels and stuff. And I don't get bloated, but I definitely eat enough food to main gain, as they say. So, maybe getting into at the end of this, let's just get into a little bit more of like what specific exercise variations or what specific sequences have I tried, changed, do I favor, do I like, etc. I think one muscle group that I want to talk about on this particular call would be back, because back for me has been like a ongoing challenge since I finished since I was younger, I never really had a good back. I mean, I was kind of like hunched over as a kid, maybe not a little bit shy, a little bit not the most self-confidence, 13, 14, 15-year-old kid. But, as I've gotten older, I've like improved my stature. I've improved how I stand, how I rest in resting place. And then when I finished with endurance, I thought I knew, okay, like I don't have like wide lats. I have pretty decent shoulders. I have a decent front, decent chest and stuff. I have pretty good shelf on my chest, but I don't really have like a wider back that makes my upper body look complete. So I took kind of the approach of, okay, let me prioritize back at least 2 days a week, no excuses. So the muscle group that I usually start the week with and then have another good workout midweek to the end of the week is back. So like I just said, I'll do back on Monday and then I'll turn around and do back on Friday, same intensity, high quality workout with like 3 to 4 exercises at a minimum, and then maybe like a supplemental exercise or like maybe some recovery or like some isolated movements with my arms or something. But ultimately, back has been kind of like where I start with a heavy, intense exercise, and then I kind of like transition into like maybe a little bit lighter. Then I go back to heavy, and then I finish with light. So heavy light is kind of how I like to do back, because on that first light movement in the first iteration, I go heavy, maybe barbell rows, maybe T-bar rows or something, with a good amount of weight. And then if maybe the form isn't perfect, I then challenge myself to like establish a good mind and muscle connection. And I go a little bit lighter. An example of that would be getting into seated cable rows. What I've enjoyed doing lately is like hitting a heavy barbell row, maybe with a couple of plates or something, and doing 3, 4, 5 sets, and then maybe a drop set there, and then go right into seated cable rows. Maybe slightly lighter weight, but really focus on like that. Let the cable go all the way down, squeeze at the top, drive with my elbows, and then hit that for like 3 to 4 exercises, maybe five, probably 4 exercises, 4 sets. Sorry, 4 sets. And then go for kind of like back into a heavier one, maybe heavier lat pull downs, work a different angle. Lat pull downs works your upper lats, and then a lot of the seated or like the lateral ones, kind of the horizontal movements work more of like your tree, kind of like your lower back, your lower scapular, and then your upper, I think it's the latimus dorsimus, if I'm not mistaken. That'd be more of like kind of the finisher movement or like the lat pull downs, and then maybe that second light intensity one too would be kind of like a version of that, whether that's reverse dumbbell flies or something, or pull-ups, just maybe finish with pull-ups as opposed to starting, just doing body weight pull-ups at the end, make it more difficult. That'd be a good option too. Or even assisted pull-ups. I mean, I've had workouts where, this is another thing when it comes to like getting the most, like getting the most blood flow. Assisted movements of back aren't a bad thing, especially if you're fatigued. I mean, the gyms usually have that machine to where you can like, let rest your knees on like a pad that's kind of supporting your body weight, and then do some pull-ups at the end that way, even if you're really fatigued. I had a good workout last week where like I was so fatigued that I was like getting assisted with like 30, 40, 50 pounds, and I could barely do like 7 or 8 pull-ups. So, I mean, that's like a good example, I think, of like, kind of changing your approach to where, heavy, light, heavy, light. That's what I'm trying to say. I think that's good. I think that's good for like larger muscle groups. I think even if you do chest or legs that way, an example of heavy, light with legs would be heavy squats, maybe stiff leg deadlifts, or like lighter like hamstring curls or something. Back into like maybe like third exercise back to heavy would be front squats, or a seated leg press like the Smith machine or something. And then back to light would be like walking lunges, or machine leg extensions or something for your quads, maybe calf raises or something. So like mix those in, heavy, light, heavy, light. Chest could be the same thing, right? So heavy flat barbell bench, go into lighter incline cable flies, go back into a dumbbell incline press, and then finish with another light, like that horizontal machine. I like those, the pads. They're the seated machine where you're basically doing seated flies, horizontal flies, something like that. So I think 4 is the magic number. Heavy, light's a good sequence. Hopefully that all makes sense. We've in this episode, okay, we've talked about using HIIT cardio to like keep your body composition where you want while you're on a lean bulk, while you're putting on muscle. I think that's a good point to make. And then heavy, light with exercise schemes, right, and mixing it up. And then particularly for back or for a legging muscle group, focus on at least twice a week. Save your energy for those days. I always lean into back day as like, okay, I was off on Sunday, I'm ready to go on fresh for back day. Or, like the example I used on Thursday, I did HIIT cardio, kind of let my almost an intense active recovery, let my larger muscle groups recover. I did legs on Wednesday, you know, HIIT cardio, haven't done upper body for 2 days, go right into back on Friday. Dig into a back workout, be ready for the next week to do it again. I don't have an issue. I don't think there's an issue with like, working the same muscle group for the same day of the week for several months or even a whole year. But just the exercise selection, the weight, the variations from that perspective are what's important. And then obviously fueling yourself. Maybe next episode we'll talk about like carb cycling, particularly food choices. What type of carbs make me feel like they give me energy? What type of protein sources make me feel like I'm getting, a good response. I'm getting good growth and recovery. Maybe we'll get into that next time. But for now, I think that's a good place to stop. Again, I'm on a different video recorder. I'm on Clipchamp, so I'll finally get these videos out consistently. I had a good video, I think, out like a couple months ago or 6 weeks ago, got about 30 views on a full episode. So hoping to, get more people to follow, and I appreciate you watching. And again, reach out if you have any questions or comments. Comment on the video, comment on my shorts. Let me know what you think. Give me any opinions on what you want me to talk about, discuss. We'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.